Hello, I'm back today at the ironing board, pressing 2 fat quarters for the Courthouse. There'll be 2 more Courthouse Steps blocks for you, because in the last video I shared the layout of this project with you, and today it's just about getting on with it really and seeing how it feels as I make just a bit more progress. Yeah, you may not have seen where I'm filming today. This is my studio where I teach and have events that go on here. But I'm actually sewing in here today because I need my sewing machines in here because I've moved up for one of the private lessons. But this is where I'm at one of the cutting tables. I have my 2 fat quarters that I just pressed are on the mat. I have the selvages on the right hand side, and on the left hand side AGF fabrics do cut them very well. I've got the 2 left hand side edges here lined up, and I'm going to line them up with a line on my mat, and I'm also lining them up horizontally on one of the lines there. In order to get that with your fat quarters, if you don't use this nostalgia bundle or any other AGF bundle, is just make sure that this left hand edge is nice and straight, and you've either got a nice acute angle at the bottom, 90 degrees angle. I'm going to be cutting it into 8 2.5 inch strips, and at the moment I'm going to use this cool viscose ruler, which has the rotary cutter, the rotary blade hidden inside there, and then when I press down on this, that's, if you can see that, when I press down on that with my hand like that, the blade comes out. I think you can see that fine there, and cuts the fabric. Okay, so let's get started with that. Just double checking, because I'm filming, I need to double check, because if you make any mistakes with these fat quarters, you're in trouble, like I was. I'm going to show you in a minute. I had a little bit of a cutting error, but I managed to sort it out because there was enough fabric for me to sort the little issue out. I'll show you that in a second. But that's definitely it. 2.5. Hand down, cut, move my fabric a little bit to the right, make sure it has all cut, yeah. And then I'll keep going, and I'll come back in a second. Then after doing all those strips of your 2 fat quarters, you end up with this left over from obviously both colours. And this is what I used to repair the block. I'm just about to show you now. Here we go. I'll show you some of the photos as well, but I'm just going to zoom in a little bit for you. See this here? That's where somehow or other 2 of my subcuts ended up 2 1/4 I don't know how I'd manage that, but you know what, this stuff happens, doesn't it? There you go, you can see. So what I had to do with the two, there's only one in this block. I think I put the other one, yeah, in the other block, because you get 2 blocks per fat quarter, of course. What I had to do was I had to use the selvage strip that I had left. I cut, well actually I didn't cut it at all. What I did was I just sewed that on to the one that was too narrow. And then I had to trim it again, and I made sure I trimmed it to 2.5 inches this time. And yes, of course you could use a jelly roll with this, because all the strips are 2.5 inches, that's up to you. But I've used the Nostalgia Fat Quarter Bundle that I sell, as it was another idea for me to help people know what they could do with the Fat Quarter Bundles that I sell. Yeah, so that's all you have. Well, you have tiny other little bits left over. I don't think I've got any in there. But that's your biggest piece of like emergency fabric if anything goes a little bit belly up. My next little tip is, once you've done your cuts, I would separate the 2 colours. Not completely necessary, but for my head, I find it look much easier if I've got the 2 colours separated. And then I can make sure I'm cutting enough of everything. But I'm not going to give you the cutting sizes and everything now, because you can get that if you subscribe to Taylor Chris's email newsletter, and I'll put a link for that, of course, in the bottom. So now I'm just going to crack on and do all the cutting I need to with these. And again, I'm going to show you what I will be doing. But not the exact cuts, just a little bit of a tip for cutting lots of strips. Yeah, so what I've done now is, one of the cuts I need to do, I need 4 of them. So if you're new to cutting, I'd recommend just doing 1 strip at a time. But because I've been doing this a long time, I'm happy enough. I've got 4 of this pink colour and 4 of the tan colour. And what I've done, I'll be able to cut both piles of 4 in each. And then what I can do then is I can cut my length through both. So however long it needs to be, I can put the ruler, I've lined them up straight on a horizontal line as well. Both of them, of course, leave a bit of a gap between them. And then whatever this cut needs to be, I can place the ruler and rotary cutter in the place where I want to cut, and I will be able to cut through both the pink and the tan at the same time. So it's a little bit more time efficient with the cutting. But like I say, there's only have 1 of each colour in the Fat Quarter Bundle. So if you're not confident with that, I would definitely just do 1 strip cut at a time. So then if something has gone awry, there's a better chance you'll be able to fix it somehow or other. Okay? Because these things happen to the best of us. Definitely. So I'm going to crack on, get all these pieces cut, and then I'll show you a little bit at the sewing machine. Just a little thing before I go to the sewing machine. You get lots of little cut-offs of the extra lengths. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping mine in this little envelope, and I'll maybe make a bonus project with it, or it'll go to make, who knows, I don't know. But take your time. It's worth doing that, because with there only being 1 colour per fat quarter, it's almost encouraging it. You're saying to you, take your time. It's okay not to rush. Now, with me saying that, you can take your time. If you're yelling at the screen saying, oh, but Diane, I've only got a certain amount of time, I've got to get off to do this, this and this. That happens, obviously. So if you've only got a short amount of time, do fewer things. It's not rocket science, and it might sound a lot, oh, it's going to take me forever. It won't take forever. We're building sustainability here. We're not doing momentum, but it is a little bit of momentum, because it's one will happen, then another, then another, then another, then another, and before you know it, you will start to build your quilt. But if you take your time or do less in a shorter amount of time, progress is happening all the time if you're keeping going. And it's definitely okay to stop, especially if you have hot cross buns like I've just remembered, because I've realised I'm also starving, so I need to eat before I do any more. And let it be said, another great benefit of having a machine that's got a really great big extension table, you can use it for all manner of things, even hot cross buns. I will get to the sewing in a minute, bear with. Now I'm probably going to be filming with a spread all over my mouth. Hopefully not. Okay. I'm not going to go through the whole steps, but just a couple of tips. Just one in particular I want to do here now, actually. I start with the square in the centre, then get 2 of the same coloured rectangles to go that are the same size as the square. And that's a good thing with Art Gallery fabrics, solid fabrics, is that it doesn't matter which side is the wrong and the right. There is no, they're both exactly the same. So then what I'm going to do is line those up, and I'll be sewing a 1/4 of an inch seam all the way down there, and I'll sew the other one on the other side. What I will say with this project, again, take your time with doing your 1/4 inches. My 1/4 inches tend to be a little bit scant on the whole. So I've been working on trying to move that tiniest little threads extra width to get my 1/4 inch seams a little bit wider, because that does just help with the way the cut sizes of the fabrics work. But I will also show you in a second how to manage that if you do find that you've got one of your pieces is slightly longer than one of the pieces you're sewing it onto. I'll go through that with you in a minute. Just let me get further along in this block, and then I'll just suggest a little tiny tweak to help deal with any discrepancies like that. But definitely using this project, because it's a simple project, using it perhaps as a way to refocus back on your 1/4 inch seam, or if you're new, now you're starting to realise the importance of keeping your eye on where that needle is going and trying to create that good solid 1/4 inch seam. Yet another little tip, thread savers, whatever you call them. You have tiny little 1 inch squares such of some fabric. You sew onto that. When you come to the end of your seam, you sew onto a little thread bunny, and then you go on and sew your next one. So every time I'm ending on one of these, so then I don't have to keep cutting I don't cut my threads at all when I'm sewing these together. The only time I cut a thread is when I cut these off, because these ones will have been at the top, of course. That's the only time I cut thread. I don't have to cut the machine thread at all. Bertie's, my machine, just keeps stitching. Gosh, tip central. I would also press as you go. And you can press, it doesn't really matter which way you press them, but I would definitely do it once you've sewn 2 of the same colour on, then press it, and then it will mean that this length that I'm going to be sewing another piece onto now, and I'll be doing one on the mirror side as well. This fabric is pressed nice and flat, so the next piece to go on will fit that much better as well. If you haven't pressed them, you might end up with pleats and things, so it's definitely press as you go. So keep your little lion by your machine or by your side and press them. I like having to get up actually because it keeps my body moving, but it all depends on your sewing setup. But whatever way you do it, I would definitely recommend press as you go. Tip 300, well, that's what it feels like. I'm ready to sew this strip on to here, and what I will do, I always, when I'm sewing with the strips on, I will sew this on the bottom. So this piece will go on top of that one, because that way I can keep an eye on these seams and I can make sure they're lying nice and flat, because I prefer them that way. Is it essential? No, it is not. But it's just a little tip that when I'm sewing them, this is what I like to do. And that's the whole idea of this, is passing on a few little hints and tips. And I didn't realise there was going to be so many. And what you'll notice when I'm sewing this now, you can probably see a little bit of bulk there with this top one. Means that's slightly longer than my strip, which is probably something to do with my cutting, you know, or my seams here being too small. Who knows? But it's what it is. So I've sewn onto this just a couple of stitches, and I have pinned at the bottom to make sure that the bottom stays even. And then what we do is we push this slowly up so that this bulk is being dealt with bit by bit as it comes along, not all of a sudden ending up with a great big bubble down here, and this top bit ends up being way longer than the strip that's underneath it. So that's what you're seeing me doing. And what you're also seeing, the setting on my sewing machine, I'm very lucky to have a setting that every time the machine stops, you'll notice the presser foot rises up a little bit. That's also wonderful for this because it allows the fabric to move underneath there a little bit every time. So sometimes you might see me stopping quite a lot. That means I'm sliding to gently absorb that little bit of bulk into my stitching. My left hand now is also trying to help move it towards the needle a little bit quicker. Lots to focus on. Don't have to worry about anything else. Focusing on my 1/4 inch, focusing on the bulk of the fabric. That's it. And then before I get to the pin, just quickly take that out, still holding that with my left finger. Even use one of tweezers if necessary, just to hold on to that for as long as you can. Watch your fingers if you're doing this. And then onto my little thread saver, thread bunny, whatever you call them. So onto it a little bit, and then my presser foot is raised, my needle is down, so I can just bring this round to the back and snip off the little bit of stitching I did in between the two bits. And then here's my thread bunny from when I started that row. And repeat, repeat, repeat. There we go. I'm on to the second block now. So I have made some nice good progress despite filming and forgetting my microphone and stuff like that sorted now. It's just some steady progress on these, the Courthouse Steps blocks. And this will actually be the last of the little 3 videos that I've done on this quilt. Next I'll show it at the retreat, hopefully. Just giving you some nice gentle tips and a bit of real-time making as I've gone along. Yeah, I'm going to keep on sewing because the light's back, and hopefully you'll keep sewing, and I'll share again when it feels right. For now, I'm going to line up these seams, and that's all I need to think about. Keep finding that joy.